Like, if you're talking about Fox,
Advisor Michael
The Five reacts to the fallout from Signal group chat.
Waltz hitting back against a bombshell report earlier today. The Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, was accidentally added to a group chat with Trump cabinet members on the encrypted app Signal. Goldberg claims he was privy to minute-by-minute war plans about strikes to take out Houthi terrorists in Yemen. Trump and Waltz reacting earlier.
The main thing was nothing happened. The attack was totally successful. This was not classified. Now, if it's classified information, it's probably a little bit different. But I always say you have to learn from every experience. I think it was very unfair the way they attacked Michael. He's a good person. The person that was on just happens to be a sleazebag. Everybody else seems to be using it. It seems to be the #1 used device or app. It was up to me, everybody would be sitting in a room together. The room would have solid lead walls and a lead ceiling and a lead floor. But, you know, life doesn't always let you do that. I don't think he should apologize. I think he's doing his best. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect.
I think there's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves.
I don't know, as an idea, maybe something reasonable. People shouldn't be using their personal devices when it comes to sensitive information, sensitive attacks. Maybe, just like for starters, forget about Signal. Whatever, you want to use Signal, which is already a giant red flag, okay? Maybe we shouldn't be using personal devices? They really should have some rules for that sort of thing.
Making up lies about this president. We've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room.
Meanwhile, Democrats and the media are demanding heads roll for the mishap.
I was shocked, and I was without words.
Texting war plans, it is something we've never quite seen before. So simple, so easy, so sloppy.
Obviously reckless, obviously dangerous.
It would be comical if it wasn't so serious and so dangerous. It's a completely reckless disregard for protocol.
Just shocking.
This sloppiness, this incompetence, this disrespect.
It is so stunning and so incompetent and so dangerous. My guess is that this is probably the tip of the iceberg.
What should happen here? Should we?
I like how they keep showing these clips to make it seem like Democrats are crazy for wanting sensitive war information to, you know, not be accidentally leaked to the press, and people rightfully calling it very sloppy and dangerous that a random fucking reporter could have that information. And they're like, can you believe these crazy liberals? So what if our war plans are public? Who cares? What do we have to hide behind? Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth included wife in sensitive meetings. Report. A new report says Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth brought his wife to sensitive meetings with foreign officials. The report comes in amid intense scrutiny of Trump administration officials for using an encrypted app, Signal, to reportedly communicate military plans while including a journalist on the thread. This is good. I'm happy to know that Pete Hegseth is a big wife guy. His wife is like, could I tag along? I promise I'm not a Russian asset. This is it, dude. This is how China takes us down, by the way. There are enough libertarians in the American Republican Party. There's enough of them. There's enough libertarians that don't have, there's enough libertarian guys that don't have Asian wives just yet. Fire when ready. Fire when ready.
You be saying lock them up?
And even Hillary Clinton is fuming over the story, saying, you've got to be kidding me. Jesse, I like the way the president handled it, because I think on something like this, just take it head on, deal with it, and say that obviously he's talked to everybody in the room, and maybe we need a new way to communicate in the government. Perhaps Elon Musk can help them with that. But I noted that somebody brought up yesterday, Eric Swalwell is calling on these guys to resign.
Yeah, let's bring Elon Musk, the guy who can't even convincingly lie about being good at a video game.
Not sure if that's the best messenger after his troubles.
They sleep with spies. They let spies drive him around. They keep classified documents in open garages while their crackhead son's compromised by the Chinese, and he's in and out of there with girlfriends at the dead of night. Okay. Nobody died except for terrorists. They accidentally put an American...
That's not true. That's not true. 52 people died, actually. And the vast majority of them were civilians, actually. There were children that died. It was an entire apartment building, actually.
Reporter on a group chat, and not a good reporter, not our very own stupid son of a bitch, Peter Doocy. They put on the worst reporter.
You can say son of a bitch on Fox.
Reporter in Washington. And he had the story for a week and then dropped it the day before. Basically, half the people on the group text testified. So you have that. But listen, it didn't look like anybody was two-faced on the text. Everybody was professional, thoughtful, America first. They were really wrestling with the question over why is the United States ensuring shipping for our allies that are screwing us on trade and not paying their NATO dues? Why are they getting a free ride? What are we getting in return?
What does that have to do with the fact that war plans were leaked?
And that's really going to be the question that America has to ask ourselves in the next 50 years. But how do you get on the text? A staffer accidentally put him on the text. He wouldn't have sabotaged us and put this guy on the text on purpose, but they'll investigate it. I don't know. This is a very transparent administration, and I really like what the president said. He said we screwed up.
Yeah.
Won't happen again. It's not like they had 13 people die and say it was a success, or just blow open the border, get Americans killed, and call it the most secure border ever. But most importantly, Dana, I
like how we're going mask off and just saying that no people died because they were brown. We're just going full mask off.
The emoji game. American flag, fire, fist bump, good stuff.
Richard, one thing about Goldberg is he waited, yes, until before the hearing, but he also didn't.
Yeah, because he thought it was absurd that real military plans and actions of war were being sent to him. That's what I would think if I was a reporter. I'd be like, this has to be a fake spam chat.
Didn't do anything to disrupt the operation or the possible sources and methods of the people who might have been helping inform us to get that done appropriately.
I think that's right. And he also has not released, he hasn't released any screenshots. He's, said, I thought this was classified. I left the chat because I was unsure of what information I was receiving. He did report it. But I think that's sort of noble of him. And listen, I think that Mike Waltz might be a good guy. I can't, attest to his character. But I do believe that, this communication is indeed troubling, that you have a lot of our, top tier national security individuals on this chat, not sure who else is on this chat. And to the president's point, he prefers it to happen in a room that has lead walls and, that room that's more secure. That there is one of those. It's called the Situation Room, and this conversation could have happened there, or it could happen in a SCIF, right? A secure room. There's tons of them around Washington, D.C. Most of the buildings where these individuals manage their teams have a SCIF. They could have done this meeting in person.
Or as an idea, people could not use their personal phones. We don't need to do everything in lead rooms with lead ceilings and lead floors. It's also not realistic. We can just not use personal phones.
At a SCIF, beyond that, throughout our national security apparatus, there's tons of different vehicles for this type of secure communications to happen outside of Signal, which all of us have on our phones right now. So there's multiple different ways to do this conversation. So I think the reason why people are reacting the way they're reacting is because they chose a retail app that everybody has on their phone instead of many of the other avenues that exist as part of the federal government apparatus to have this conversation. And I think the reason why folks are saying that maybe a head should roll is because during the Biden administration was critiqued for not firing people fast enough, not saying people made a mistake and they should be let go. And, Donald Trump was sort of, I think he might have a copyright on you're fired. Yeah. Maybe you should use that copyright now to say somebody should, even if it's a junior staffer, for making a mistake like this, because how about if it wasn't a journalist and it was somebody else who wants to compromise the United States and they're watching all of our top tier national security.
Is this supposed to be like the leftist here? Is it supposed to be the far-leaning, left-leaning person on the five?
Security officials engage in a conversation about how to deal with our foreign allies, or maybe not so our allies, right, in this particular conversation. And that is what is indeed troubling to me.
Yeah, well, I guess if you're a junior staffer and you do this and you have a security clearance, it might jeopardize your job.
Yeah.
I take your point.
It does jeopardize your job.
Yeah, and you might not be promoted and on and on. So, Judge.
Okay, a couple of things. We're 2 months into this administration, okay? And what you have are people and
I mean, he's the black guy here, so he has to clearly be the lib. I mean, everybody else here has just been glazing Trump and been saying, he's the best, he's the greatest, he's so good, I like how he attacked it head on. And so far, that guy has been the only person that said, maybe we should fire someone? The reason why I call him the far left one is because for people that watch Fox News, if you're even against Trump at all, you're like a far left, max left communist. That's why I called him what I called him. You have to look at it from the perspective of a Fox News viewer.
what struck me is that what they were saying in this communication on Signal, which is, I understand, the best of the encrypted communications that you can get on a phone, is something that they're saying publicly. And I think that Americans should be comforted by that they aren't saying one thing to the public and then going back behind walls and saying something different. And it's what the president was saying. I mean, the president has been saying, you know, the proxies have to go, the Houthis have to go, Iran is behind it. Everything that the president has been saying is what was in this communication. And they talked.
Yes, Queen, normalize using Signal for sensitive war plans. Yes.
About how the Houthis are tying up the trade and making it almost impossible for not just Americans, but for the Europeans. But they were talking about when, not specific longitude and latitude and all that other stuff. And they were smart enough to say, if you read the article, that let's communicate on the high side, which meant that they recognized that when there were things that were classified, they had to communicate via another instrument. So
they specified which weapons were used, they specified what time, and they confirmed that the targets were hit. All of that is sensitive information. Even the weather, all of that was sensitive information. That they specified the exact targets, the locations, all of that is sensitive information. To say that the people who accidentally invited a reporter into the group chat on their personal phones are the smart guys because some of the information wasn't in there. Janine turning into a grape, too much wine. No.
In addition to that, you know, Trump is clearly, as you said, Dana, he's taking it seriously. We're going to learn from it. Nothing shared was classified. The strikes were successful. No one was hurt. And the truth is that for 4 years, Biden allowed our soldiers to be hit by the Houthis. Several died. Many are suffering from.
It's crazy that if you're a Fox News viewer, you can just listen to the Fox News hosts tell you nothing classified was leaked. Nothing important was leaked. And you just believe it.
We need more transparency of classified military operations. That will make us more comfortable.
Okay.
Lifelong traumatic brain injuries. And we're seeing transparency in a way that is, I think people should be comforted by. And in the end, let's make it clear that this particular writer is the one who we know lied about Donald Trump. And so I'm not impressed with him at all. And I like that the president stood up for Mike Waltz. I like that he said, this is a guy who believes in the country, who's working hard, and we're going to keep him. And we all learned.
Greg Gutfeld, last word.
Well, this was bound to happen.
You can't cry transparency when it was accidentally leaked. Sensitive information aside, the lack of records and chat being deleted in Signal chat is a big issue in itself. What's the problem with Signal? The tech is good. The problem was human error, in fact. Two things. One, you need records of this stuff. They're using Signal because they don't want records of this stuff when they should be using government protocol so that they can have records of this stuff for the purposes of transparency. They are supposed to keep records of this stuff so that later, if there are investigations done on previous operations, we can hold those accountable that did things that they should be held accountable for. Second, they should, ignoring Signal for a second, they should not be using personal phones. Your stream has like negative delay. You started reading the chat before it even showed up on mine. Sorry. They shouldn't be using their personal phones because you don't know whether or not your personal phone is compromised. You don't know how many ads you've accidentally clicked on. You don't know if your phone has been hacked, especially as a high-ranking government official. People have a strong incentive to hack your phone and to fucking bug it or whatever. So you have no way of knowing what if your phone is compromised. You shouldn't be using your personal phone to transmit sensitive data to other people.
DNM balls.
It's true. Baby carrots, thank you for the 7 months. You just shouldn't be doing it. Or it can become compromised after the fact. Yes. Someone tried to compare this to like a conference call, as if a conference call wouldn't literally be recorded from start to finish.
And there's so many great things happening so fast at blinding speed. It's overwhelming to the media. It's overwhelming to a lot of people that you almost needed just a misstep to keep the media from committing suicide. Because now they can act like what they really are, hand-wringing journalists. God forbid that they would report on the good things that are going on. They suddenly discovered their vocation. You know,
also, wait, you are the media. Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? You are the media.
story, as always, is delivered to them in their laps, and it's not about Democrats. Suddenly they get up from their desks, they stop doom scrolling and report the news. I think there's a key point that has been overlooked. Wasn't it preloaded on their phone? Right.
What's this crackhead saying? He's less of a crackhead to me. I like to call him Big Jugs Gutfeld because he has a tendency to wear shirts that make his tits look huge. Because he doesn't wear like formal clothing. Like he never wears, it's very rare that he's wearing like a suit and a tie. And sometimes he wears like things that are a little too transparent. I'll see if I can find a clip so you guys can see what I'm talking about.
Okay, so what does that tell you? There's no secure government alternative to Signal. There isn't a way for a dozen people to talk on their own timeline, i.e. group chat, as we kids like to call it. That's secure. I mean, why is it on the phone? Trump said, yeah, in the perfect world.
We're just lying. Okay. It's simply a catastrophic failure by the administration in every way possible. There's nothing much to it. And they're trying to make every excuse ever. And the big thing people I don't think they get is this time we had an editor-in-chief that valued the secrecy of the chat and the national security of the U.S. Imagine if it was someone else next time. Like, these are mistakes that should never be happening ever.
You'd have it in this separate room, but that doesn't exist if you have 12 people all over the place. But here's the bigger context. When you have the highest possible goal, your aim, and you choose to act on that aim, you incur a risk for error. That's how winners live their lives. But you can avoid that risk for error by doing nothing. Like what Biden did with the border. No act, no foul. Like it has been the bone of contention under Trump. They don't go after his aims because they fall in line with America's aims, so they go after the process. He's going too fast. It's too sloppy. That's because Trump does more stuff in a day than Biden did in his career. So for mistakes to happen...
But that's not a good thing. Doing a lot of bad things shouldn't be revered. What? Oh, yeah? Well, that guy did a couple of things, but I did a lot of bad things really quickly. Greg Buttfield needs to be, I agree. Greg Buttfeld needs to be deported.
You have to act on an aim and you have to have a will to act on it, which was missing the last 4 years. Thousands of errors Biden didn't make because the White House was one giant, deliberate act of negligence. They didn't seal the border. They didn't reduce crime. They didn't get men out of women's sports. They didn't fight inflation. No act, no foul, right? Perhaps we were lucky that they ignored the problems. It could have been worse. But Biden made no mistake capturing the Abbey-gate bomber because he didn't try. He didn't make any mistakes trying to capture America's 10 most wanted criminals because they didn't try. He didn't make any mistakes.
Here you guys go. I got a good screenshot of Big Tit Gutfeld. This is not Photoshop, just so we're all aware. I just think it's funny that one of the people who is like so big on masculinity and traditional masculinity and being a traditional man, and the left is feminizing men and making them so woke. I think it's funny that that guy has huge tits. Like, if you just like tried to like block out his face, that could easily be. He would think, he'd be like, oh, I want to see her face. You know that. The worst is when he's wearing the really thin shirts.
Doctors say...
Shut the fuck up. The worst is when he's wearing the thin shirts and you can see his nipples. It's like, dude, put those things away. Put them away. Oh my God. Jesus. I know the back pain must be bad. Anyways.
When it came to deporting gangs, because he didn't try. So for the next 4 years, you will hear of mistakes being made left and right, big ones, little ones, because the aims of the White House are so good, all you have left as an angry media is to go after the process. But Americans know the
What do you mean?
choice. Do you want a leader with noble aims who will take a risk in the name of America first? There might be some mistakes made. Or do you want a leader who did nothing but oversee the decline of a country, a charade that was collaborated on by the very outraged media that you're seeing now? What they did under Biden makes this Signal thing look like a pimple on an ant's ass.
I would say they actually did do one thing. They caused inflation.
Yes.
That's a crazy analogy. A pimple on an ant's ass. Amazing framing. Get ready, boys. The next 4 years are going to be a shit show of disaster, and that's because we are actually working, damn it. Like, I just don't have any words, man. I don't even know what one is supposed to say about this.
by passing the so-called Inflation Reduction Act and adding the Green New Deal to it.
Good point,
which we
Dana.
are still
I hate the way he sounds, dude. Oh my God. I don't hate Gutfeld nearly as much as I hate Jesse Waters, to be fair. Because, like, Gutfeld gives me... I just get annoyed hearing him. I just get a little bit annoyed. But he's also kind of dumb, so it's a little funny. Jesse Waters just gives rapist, so he just disgusts me.
I know Dennis is a real gamer because she gets rage baited by not enough breasts on Gutfield.
Sorry, I know it's Gutfeld, and I keep saying Field. Also, I just rotate between the two. I have like a deep disgust. Like I go into fight or flight when Jesse Waters is on the screen. I'm like that guy. Yeah, I'm sorry. Jesse, I slashed my now wife's tires so she couldn't leave so we could spend time together. Like, that is fucking serial killer, skins cat rapist vibes, dude. Whereas, like, Gutfeld is just, like, annoying dude. Annoying idiot, right? Jesse Waters is not. No, that's a man who needs to be locked up, dude. Gutfeld is like your dumb stepfather. Exactly, yes. Precisely. You get it. Oh my God, dude. Sorry, I just saw this fucking... screenshot. This is from 5 months ago. Real men see through this bull. God. Jesse, cover your drinks, Waters. No.
It's really been interesting, the reaction to the podcast. I mean, we had some controversial figures on, I'll acknowledge that, and Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and some others. But you're right. I mean, this idea that we can't even have a conversation with the other side.
You have to. They won.
Thank you. That's it. Bottom line. And by the way, or the notion we just have to continue to talk to ourselves or we're in the same damn echo chamber. These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now. We had a high water mark 2 weeks ago, and that was a CNN poll at 29% favorability. It's dropped in the NBC poll.
That's because we keep conceding to the right. That's because we keep conceding to Republicans. That's why. That's why it's going down the drain.
Down to 27%. It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make sense. And I think with this podcast and having the opportunity to dialogue with people I disagree with, it's an opportunity to try to find common ground and not take cheap shots. I'm not looking to put a spoke in the wheel of their, or at least a crowbar in the spokes of their wheel to trip them up, to your point. And I think it's important. Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be. This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it. You've been on the receiving end of it for years and years and years. That's real. And Democrats need to own up to that. They've got to mature about this.
Do we watch this or do I end it all? I'm Brian Kilmeade.